Hi, Indies. It's Kristen Fusaro-Pizzo, your subject matter expert for shows and fairs, about how to be successful at vendor shows, events, and fairs. I'll try to get some better lighting there. Okay, so the first thing about how to become successful at these events is making sure you're planning them really early. So, planning to attend them very early. And what you should be doing is scouting the scene. You probably know some of the events that are happening around you. And if you're very new on the circuit, then I would spend some time trying to talk to other vendors and scouring newspaper. Facebook is especially great. Look through events. You can use websites like event.si. It's called Eventsy, all events in. You could use Eventbrite to just check out the different events that are going on, because most of these places are using these different forms to advertise. So that's the first thing, is like to scour around. I organize major events and I plan them a year in advance. So for example, like I run an event in December and I already have all of my vendors completely booked by usually by the end of May. So making sure that you're looking early for these events is really pivotal to being successful, because you want to make sure that you're finding events that are proper for your actual target market. Especially if you're new. Hi, Jennifer. Especially if you're new to this scene, checking out, you might want to do every single event that's out there, but that's just not really a good idea, because especially as an indie maker, you have a specific target audience. Now it's going to vary for each particular, type of product, each particular brand, but overall your general target are people who want new items. They're willing to spend their discretionary income on these items, so they probably have a little bit more discretionary income, and they're looking more for like a boutique experience. So you want to stay away, number one, from anything that says flea market in the title. Despite how alluring it might be, especially in the beginning, to try all of these events just to get your name out there, anything that says flea market, run away from, because flea market, you're going to have people who are maybe not always selling their old items, but they're selling things and looking to haggle and offering discount prices, because the connotation behind flea market is that it's something for a bargain shopper. So definitely avoid those things. You also want to be careful of different particular organizations. Recognize that certain organizations may not be right for you, even though they may be a great cause. So, for example, I live in New York City. There's a great organization by us called the Binny Fund, and they raise all kinds of money for various things, but they raise all kinds of money, especially coming for the fire department and for people who need assistance as a result of major catastrophes, et cetera, et cetera. But they do this huge event every year, and it's called Bikers for Beanies. So it's aimed specifically at like people who drive motorcycles. And I have a few vendors that are in my network, and they want to do these events, but they're selling jewelry, they're selling purses, and I always warn them, like, be mindful, like, who is going to a biker event? Bikers, people who are interested in that particular topic, and don't be surprised if you're not making tons of money. Now, again, you have to know your own product and recognize like who's going to be your audience. Doesn't mean that you're not going to make tons of money there, but know who's going to be there. Certain types of events attract different people. So that's the utmost important piece of advice I can give you, is don't spend your time or money trying to do every single type of event. Be very judicious about which ones you choose. I'm just going to check over at my notes here. When you finally do choose your events, make sure you can get to set up as early as possible. So you want to ask your organizer when setup actually is, and make sure you're there at that moment, the earliest possible time to set up, because your display is, without language, the only thing that you're going to be able to use to attract your audience. So take your time to set up a beautiful display. And when I say beautiful, I mean you need to have something immediately to attract the eye, and I believe in building up. building up because you're going to probably, there's going to be other tables around you, and you need something that's going to catch someone from across the room or across the field or wherever this event is taking place. So building up. I personally buy bookshelves. They're foldable, stackable bookshelves, and I put them up on my table. And this way, like they're high and people can see them from far away. And something else I really recommend is having a banner or a tablecloth that has your logo, your brand name, your business name, or what you sell, very large. This way, again, you have to take the idea that someone from across the way, if they're looking around, they can read like oh, this is Bath and Body, you know, or these are candles. Great, I'm gonna head over to that table. Something huge to display what you're selling. This way you're attracting people. Colors. Even if your brand is very, let's say, modern and you're going like black, white, silver, you want to use different color specs within somehow to attract people. And if you're using the black, white, silver, use it in such a way that it is modularly attractive, so that people are saying, wow, look at the color usage that's going on over here. Because naturally our eye just gravitates to things that have catching color. Okay, when you do have, as far as your table is concerned, you want to make sure that you also have really clear signage. You want to display your pricing, and you want to display any type of affiliations or something special that you do. So for example, like I will have in a picture frame, I frame my prices because I just think it has a more aesthetic look and boutique type of appearance, trying to elevate the clientele that would be attracted to my table. So I use a picture frame and I type up my price list, and I always add something. Hi Donna, thank you for joining. I always add something unique that they could get by shopping at the event that they can't otherwise get from shopping on my website. So for example, I might do a special where it's like 2 soaps for $10, or buy 4 soaps, get 1 free. Something that's unique to shopping at the event to make it appealing for them at that moment. And the reason you want to do that, and you want to be clear about that in your signage, you don't want to make it like a furniture store, like going at a business sale, but you want something that you can have as a discussion point, that's a selling point, because you don't want them to say, oh, I'll just go shop later. It's like, well, if you purchase now, you can get these, you buy 4 soaps and you'll get 1 for free, whereas if we don't have that special on our website. You make it appealing for them at that moment. And the benefit behind that is that you're moving the product. The less you have to bring home with you, the better. Now, you don't, depending on if you're at a major trade expo, you're not doing that because you're appealing to wholesale clientele. But we'll talk about that another time. Right now, I'm talking about just regular fairs and events, and you want to have that attractive aspect. You could still maintain the boutique experience. Hi, Terry. The boutique experience while offering something unique to your particular table. I also like to do something engaging where I run some type of, I gamify the situation. So it's like, hey, share your email address with us and guess how many lip balms are in this tub. And we'll add you to our email list, and then we'll announce the winner in our next newsletter, or something like that. So that's really important too. You want to try to grab as many email addresses as possible. Even if they're not your customer that moment, it doesn't mean that they're never going to be your customer. So have that conversation with them. And that's something I want to talk to you about too. So have the conversation with people who stop at your table. Use your sense of personality to gauge their interest. Do not be pushy, do not pressure, do not be a salesman. Despite the fact that you're there to sell, don't be a salesman, because more so you are selling yourself, and that's just about personality and having an engaging type of rapport that you're going to build with the customer. Hi, how are you? How's everything going today? What's your favorite scent? Or I like to do something silly just because that's my particular personality and my brand has like a silly aspect to it. So I invite them to my table and say, hey, come on down, sniff around. It's the only time I can say that without sounding weird. And I know the customer who chuckles at my joke, I'm like, okay, this person's going to be engaged with me and my brand because they have that type of personality. So if you can find some type of one-liner or a hook that can gauge right away who your customer is, and then you know whether or not to continue on with that type of rapport and ask for their email address. So I'll have that conversation. They'll chuckle, haha. It's like, oh, is there any particular scent that is really appealing to you? Oh, I love lavender, right? Everybody loves lavender. Oh, I have this, and this in lavender. No, okay, I'm not interested right now. That's fine. Would you like to take a card and give us your email address? We're going to pick a winner at the end of the month, something like that. You keep that conversation going, even if they're not making the purchase at that particular moment. It doesn't mean they're never going to make a purchase. Sometimes they're just checking you out, like, oh, who's this new person? Or, I want to explore later. If they don't have money on them, whatever the case is, they just want to buy later. You got to make the whole experience as though they are still your greatest customer ever. As far as when you get to the event, so I mean, that I'm already talking about like when you're engaging in the event. When you get to the event, I think it's also really important for you to actually go and introduce yourself to the event organizer. Let them know who you are. Thank them for organizing the event. Get a better idea, because you want to be able to be invited back in the future. You want them to put a face to the name, and you want to create a relationship with them should they have any other events. It's just always good business practice to maintain that relationship. Piece of advice I always give also is to introduce yourself to your neighbors, your vendor neighbors. You want to have a good vendor neighbor relationship, because that helps you establish, as you're going through the vendor circuit, people want to be around you. You build a level of trust and rapport. And sometimes you need to like just run to the bathroom and say, hey, can you watch my table if you're doing it by yourself, whatever the case is. So you want to think not just about the relationships that you're building with customers, but you also want to build relationships with the vendors around you. Over the course of time, that was a really positive influence for me, and that actually what inspired me to create my Vine vendor network. And what happened was that I was getting tons of referrals from other vendors, like, oh, this person makes soap. Oh, this person makes candles. Oh, go see Kristen. Oh, you like this type of stuff? You should see Kristen. And I'm getting these customers just because I've built relationships with other vendors. And that I realized was a niche and a trick for me, because who supports small businesses more than other small businesses? So aside from these other vendors sometimes actually becoming customers also, they would give me the referral. And that, again, is everything. You have to change your mindset about what a bad event is. Also, sometimes we think if we're not making tons of money at an event, oh, it was such a bad event. But what did you do while you were there? Did you build that relationship with the other vendors? Did you build a relationship with the organizer? The customers who did stop by your table, did you have that conversation with them? It's not always about making the money right at that moment, which, I mean, ideally you will, of course, but frame your mindset that it's about making money all around. It's about building relationships so that you have a reverberation of money in the future. I'm going to just take a pause to see if anybody has any questions, because I've been like running through a whole lot of tips here. So if you have any questions, just I have it open over here and there so I can see. Just go ahead and jot your questions down. I'll try to address those. All right, while you're thinking about some of your questions, I will give you a couple more tips to be successful at events. So I suggest pre-packing your bags that you're going to, sell your purchases in with all of your marketing material. So in my bags, like I use little paper bags because I go for the sustainability effort. I use little paper bags, and I put a little bit of candy in there. I put my business card. I have a thank you card that I already like pre-done. And I put that where I'm going to be in my next shows, a little list of that, all in the bag. It's all part of my marketing material. And then it's already set, and I stack my bags, and I pack my bags in a bin. And this way, as I'm getting purchases, I just stuff whatever they bought in the bags, and they're getting all that marketing material without missing a beat. Sometimes, hopefully you're so busy that you don't have time to do that, but that's another trick to make sure like you create also the unboxing experience while you're at a vendor show by giving these little extras in the bag. Like I said, the candy is a nice hitter. I suggest hard candy, especially if you're doing outside events. This way, like your chocolate isn't melting. So hard candy is the way to go. As far as payment, hi Alice, thank you for joining. Payment, you want to bring change with you. don't forget to get change the day before or whatever the case is. I recommend for regular vendor events $120. And I suggest breaking it down 50 in fives, 50 in singles, and 2 tens. Now, the trick is to work with your pricing so that your taxes are included and that you end up with round numbers. So like I will sell, let's say, a bar of soap for $6. I keep it a round number and I'll just include the taxes for myself and I figure that out later. It just makes the transaction easier and you're not dealing with change. And honestly, people at vendor fairs, they don't have patience for change. They're going to hand you a 20. 9 times out of 10, they're going to hand you a 20, and it's just easier to deal with whole numbers. So I really recommend that you alternate your pricing and you alter your pricing to reflect those round numbers to make it easier all the way around. That being said, make sure that you have an option for a credit card. Now, most of us indies know that. We have our websites. We use Shopify or Square or Wix, BigCommerce, something of the sort. But make sure all your batteries are charged and you have your access to your credit card payments. Why? People, and this is just scientifically proven, are more likely to spend more money on a credit card than with cash. Why? Because cash looks like real money, whereas a credit card has this indubitable effect of not looking like real money. Not that we're trying to be manipulative, but we're just tapping into the psychological market of these vendor events. And that means giving people easy access to spend the money that they want to spend on your products. And they do. They want to spend the money on your products. Make it easy for them to spend as much money as possible. And that is all that I have for today. So if anyone has any other questions about how to be for the basic level, how to be successful at vendor fairs, please leave them in the comments. Use #ShowsFairs, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope I was able to give you some good tips, especially if you're new and getting started. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Thank you.